Landlords in Dayton, Ohio are going to have a lot harder time doing tenant background checks because the city of Dayton is now going to seal eviction records. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Dayton, Ohio. And once again, it has to deal with the whole landlord tenant screening issue, okay? And this has to do with eviction records in particular. So a lot of people, they say, oh, tenants are having a very difficult time finding housing if they've ever been evicted or if they've even had an eviction filed against them. And rightfully so, because you know what? If you've had an eviction filed against you, that means you screwed up somewhere. You paid your rent late, you didn't pay the landlord all the money, or maybe you were breaking the rules that were agreed upon in the lease, whatever it was, right? People don't file evictions for no reason. So I think that a landlord should have the right to see your eviction record. Now, does that mean it's going to be harder for you to find housing? Absolutely yes. But that also should incentivize you to do everything possible to make sure that you handle your financial obligations and follow the rules that you agreed to when you signed that lease, okay? So what they're doing here is, one, they're disincentivizing tenants from, even caring if they pay their rent on time or even caring that an eviction was filed against them. They're encouraging them essentially to break the rules and terms that they agreed to in their lease. And it's not going to benefit landlords. It's not going to benefit tenants either. And I'm going to tell you exactly why as I get into this article. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So what do you think of these cities, municipalities that want to seal eviction records, make it impossible for a landlord to see evictions that happen? Okay, do you think this is going to benefit the tenants in the way they think it is? Like they talk about, oh, this is going to help people find housing and keep stable housing. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. I'll tell you why here. So let's get into the article and let me explain. This article is coming from WDTN.com, and it says, Tenants' eviction records now sealed by the Dayton Municipal Court. Let's get into it. Local leaders are looking to help more renters find a stable place to live with a new court-instituted rule. The Dayton Municipal Court will now seal eviction records. Dayton Clerk of Courts, Marty Garez, says the goal is to create a fairer housing market. Some local landlords and landlords across the country use databases that do background checks, and if an individual does have an eviction on their record, it becomes extremely difficult for them to actually obtain long-term stable housing, said Garez. Not some landlords. The overwhelming majority of landlords do background checks to make sure that tenants do not have evictions on their record. And why would a landlord do that? They act like, well, I don't understand why landlords are doing this. Well, maybe because these people are proving that they are an extreme risk when they have that on their record. An extreme risk that the landlord won't get paid their rent or won't get paid on time, or that this person is, a problem, a big problem. And if it is up to me, I'm going to choose the best tenant possible for my unit. And that will be somebody who does not have an eviction on their record. That's like signing up for a problem. You're like, oh, I'm going to give this person a chance. And then they screw you over. And you're like, well, why did I give this person a chance when they already have proven that they screw landlords over? They've already proven that, because that's why they got the eviction on their record in the first place. Ah, man, it boggles my mind that people don't seem to understand why a landlord wouldn't want to rent to somebody who has an eviction on their record. That's like saying, oh, you know what? I'm going to rent to this person over here who's unemployed. They have no income whatsoever, but you know what? I'm going to rent to them anyway. They'll somehow come up with the rent, right? Wrong. That's a dumb idea, okay? We are trying to minimize our risk. You can't completely eliminate risk, but you can minimize it, okay? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it so that we get paid our rent on time every single month, and we have minimal damages to our property, and we are treated with respect by our tenants. That's what we're trying to do when we put a tenant in our property. We're not trying to help out somebody. We're not a social service program. Okay, we're not trying to, feed the homeless and house the poor. Nope. What we're trying to do is make money. That's the whole reason that we operate our businesses in this way. Now, you could look at any other business and be like, yeah, it's funny, but the rental car company over there, the one that rents cars out, they don't seem to give a crap about, whether somebody's wealthy enough to afford their housing. They just want their money. Okay, and even going beyond like rental cars, if you want to go into leased cars, from the dealerships that lease cars, they just want their money. And if you don't pay them, they come and get the car back. And that's what we want. We want to get our house back if you don't pay us. So you think they're going to just, lend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to people who have no ability to pay? Of course not. Only a moron would do that. Yet that's what they expect landlords to do. Because by giving them our property, we're essentially giving them a loan, because we are loaning them our house, which is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then they are making, monthly payments to us to live there. So yeah, it's one of those situations where the person has to be credit worthy. The person has to have enough sufficient income. We do not want that person to be at risk. And if they don't understand that, well, they're just dumb. One of the most important aspects of any child's life is having safe, affordable, stable housing, he said. The rule only applies to evictions that occurred within the Dayton city limits. Last year, there were roughly 3,000. Garez encourages all other local area courts to adopt similar rules to allow tenants a fresh start. Hopefully this will have a huge impact and allow people an ability to get into safe and affordable housing, said Garez. And so this guy, I'm sure he had good intentions, right? But it is a flawed proposal. Okay, and let me tell you why. First of all, when you say a landlord can no longer look at evictions, right? A landlord is going to tighten up the other aspects of tenant screening that they still can look at. Okay, so you're going to tighten up our credit scores. We're going to tighten up our background checks. We're going to tighten up, our just everything. So also, I am going to, as a landlord, if I can no longer look at eviction records, I want to warn the other landlords out there that, hey, this person is a bad tenant. So I am going to, file that this person owes this onto their credit report. That way their credit takes a ding, and when the landlord does the background check on that tenant, they're going to see, oh, you owe one of your previous landlords thousands of dollars still for unpaid rent. That's what I'm going to do, okay? So I'm going to hit their credit as hard as I can. I'm going to come after them in small claims court for the money they owe me. I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that I don't put a bad tenant in my property by, making it even more difficult to rent. So basically this is going to hurt the tenants, because other landlords, they think like me, okay? And they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to rent to questionable tenants, and I'm gonna have to go off of other measures other than just eviction history. So yeah, you're screwing over a lot of people, okay? Anyway, interesting article. What I'll do is I'll put a link to this article in the description down below. Let me know what you think of this whole situation. You think it's a good idea to hide eviction records, and do you think this will actually help tenants or not?